supposed to be cold, but sometimes we get really cold. And pretty much it seems like the foxes are saying that this year. However, if you want to know the kind of snowfall we're going to have, this is who I watch right here. This little guy will turn silver and gray for winter if you're going to have snow. That way, Cash will blend in with the snowy terrain. Now, look at that white underside. Santa and her brother Bobby in the backyard. Bobby can't come down with these two. He'll attack them both. Don't think he's nasty. He's actually a normal bobcat. You don't usually put bobcats together for any amount of time. Because they're territorial, solitary animals, bobcats will sometimes even fight to the death over territory, which is exactly why little Santa and Bobby came to be here. A woman had them as pets. They started fighting as they started to mature, and she had no clue what to do. Well, why didn't the breeder tell her this was going to happen when she purchased two? Well, she met Jim's then partner, Dan, at the time. Dan explained to her, separate them, you're going to lose one. And that day, Dan went home with two bobcats. So Bobby, to this day, cannot be put back with her. And you definitely don't put two males together. Now, Santa and Bobby are southern bobcats, dark brown year-round, because where you would find them, you would not encounter the snowfall. You would more than likely encounter with him. Now I'm going to give him one more week before I make my final decision as to if we're going to have a lot of snow. I will have to tell you, the top of his head has lost almost all the brown. That's usually your sure sign. So we'll see how it goes. But so far I'm thinking, yeah, we're going to get lots of snow. But at the end of winter, he will not have one brown hair on his body, not one brown hair. All of a sudden, you'll see right across his forehead here, brown hairs come out. I get so excited because I know winter's over. We're done, and after he starts to turn back to brown, we have never had a snowfall after. And he does it very quickly. Within about 2 weeks of him changing colors, winter's done. So I pay attention to him. We'll see. Like I said, I'm going to give him one more week. So far, though, I'm not real happy. Now, these little guys. Yeah, news. Well, you know what? A few years ago, Jim, I was sitting on the couch. Jim comes in and he goes, apparently some lady thinks you know what our winter's going to be like. And I said, oh yeah, because of the foxes and the bobcat. And he goes, okay, she's demanding to know because they're going to go to Florida this winter and she wants to know if they should leave sooner or later. I said, uh-oh, oh boy, putting me on the spot. I said, well, tell her not to go by what we say. Don't hold us to it. But so far, it looks like she might want to pull out early. So she was very happy with that. The end of the season, she called back and she goes, oh, I heard you guys have one of your worst winters yet. Thank you so much for your forecast. So now it's kind of like we're put on the fence about that, you know. I really don't, you know, I shouldn't really say, but I tell you, these guys seem to know every year. All right, northern or southern, all bobcats will have the same features. They all have a short bobtail. I think we all know that's what gave them their name. But most people, let them fall over here. Most these foxes and their holes. Most people don't know why these tails are so short. Basically, the theory is, as this little cat's maneuvering through dense brush, thickets, and briars, being so low to the ground, this little tail would get, or the long tail, I'm sorry, would get caught up in the brush and the briars. So a short tail, easy to tuck close to the body, and he'll pass through without any problem. However, cats have tails for a balance, so he does need somewhat of a tail, just not too much. Don't bite. When he's hungry, he bites. I have to watch when he's this close to my legs. I'll just move around and he'll follow me. But when he's really hungry, he does circles around me. I have to really pay attention to him. Okay, look at the back of the ears on our bobcat. Every single bobcat out there, I don't care what color it is, and they range from sandy blonde to black. I've never seen a black bobcat. I bet they're gorgeous. But they all have the same markings on their ears. They all have tufts of hair on the tip of the ears. The ears are really cool. They protect them from large predators. First off, the hairs pick up ground vibration or noise. So they're very sensitive, like little sensors. When they pick something up, they will twitch, and this little cat knows something big is creeping around. So of course she's going to sit up to listen and look around, trying to pinpoint where that big animal is. And hopefully when she pops her head the brush or through the brush, only the back of her ears are showing to that big predator creeping in. Now the back of the ears look like a huge pair of eyes. Now think about it. If you're out hiking in the woods, look over and there are a pair of eyes the size of her ears peering back at you. I think you're going to get a little nervous. You're probably going to think, ooh, big eyes belong to big animals. Whatever eyes those belong to is huge. And then you're probably going to think, okay, big eyes, big animal, but low to the ground, that can only mean that animal's in a crouched attack position watching you move in. If you get too close, it's going to jump up and out and attack. So bobcat ears are marked to look like eyes for protection from the bat. All right, these little guys look so unassuming. I mean, look at her. She's just kind of sitting here with her head down. I tell you what, I have to laugh when I see her sitting like this because I know this little cat really well. And in a split second, her whole temperament could change. If I made a real loud noise or moved towards her real quick or stepped on her foot, that little cat would be on me so fast you'd miss it if you blinked. So I know all too well how quick their temperament can change. So does our vet. He was here one day helping us give rabies shots, and little Santa had already seen the foxes and Bobby get theirs, so she was ready. As soon as we opened her gate to walk in over there, she pounced. She dove through the air onto my shoulder. Luckily, the vet saw her do it, took off running. She jumped off my shoulder onto the ground and was on that gate hanging, snarling, growling, face fanned out, ears pinned back. He was white as a sheet. You know, if you ever watch a bobcat go after something to attack, I mean, really attack, not food, but something that she's aggressive towards, it's pretty awesome. However, if you're what they're going after, it's pretty scary. So these little guys have that Jekyll Hyde attitude. They're very temperamental, very easy to provoke. This is not an animal you would ever want at home as a pet around your kids. And when I tell you in a little bit what they eat in the winter, I think you'll get the idea why they're not safe to have around adults either. But anyway, I put these little guys in the same category I would a badger or a wolverine when provoked. So that ought to sum it up. Small size, huge attitude. All right, normally this is a cat that would eat small rodents. Any kind of small ground animal, favorite being rabbits. But chipmunks, squirrels, things like that. They eat groundhogs also. Now I think we all know some groundhogs are so big, they're about her size. But these little guys have such powerful feet, they can smack a groundhog in the head and stun it or knock it out cold. So they eat groundhogs. They also fish. They eat reptiles. Snakes, sticking to my finger. Now he's got dirt in his food. Snakes, lizards, frogs on the menu. I'm always catching little frogs in here and putting them in the garden because she loves to eat them. Now, there is something on the menu I think will definitely kind of sum up their attitude. Rattlesnakes. This is the only animal I've ever read or heard about in the wild that will not only kill a rattlesnake for food if they're really hungry, but for fun if they're bored looking for something to do. You know, we all need a little excitement in our life, but I think that's pushing it. Challenge a rattlesnake to a battle and hope you can kill it, because you know it could kill you. It explains how brave, tough, but crazy these little cats are. They've been known to kill those rattlesnakes and just walk away, leaving them lying on the ground. Now, winter comes around, food is getting harder to find. Not so much for these little southern cats. They're finding plenty of food because it's mild, but for your northern cats. That's when these little guys will go after larger animals. Bobcats are so powerful, they have been known to bring 10-point bucks to the ground for food. That's a buck with a full rack, 200-plus pound animal. Now, while this little cat, he's got dirt on it. I'm sorry, buddy. While this little cat could not eat a whole deer, obviously, you know, he's not going to go hungry. He knows the trick to get that deer to the ground. And while it does take a little longer for him to do than it would a big cat like a mountain lion, he'll get the job done. First off, they can run about 35 miles an hour. Jump 8 to 10 feet high, straight up in the air. This is 8 feet. Leap out 12 feet. From pole to pole here is 10 feet. So this little cat will have no trouble whatsoever getting on the back of the deer. Once he's up there, he immediately runs to the head. This is where they latch on with their nails and ride. Always here. Now, while the deer is running, he's becoming exhausted. So they're wearing the deer down. But this little cat's not riding up here to enjoy the scenery as the deer's running, he's biting into the neck to injure him. So with that combination, you can see how they'll finally wear the deer out. And when this little cat knows he can, he'll swing from the back of the neck through the air to the throat, pull the deer to the ground, and suffocate it by crushing the windpipe. So I always have to smile when people come over and say, "Oh my gosh, it's a fluffy house cat. Look how little." Well, you might want to add with a huge tiger stuffed in that little body. Very powerful cats. Now, if you're ever out in the woods hiking and you see a bobcat, honestly, enjoy the fact you're one of the few getting to see them. This is a very elusive little animal. They want nothing whatsoever to do with people. So they're very cool this way. They don't want any trouble from us, but if we give them trouble, boy, can they give it back tenfold. So I think that's pretty cool. Leave me alone, I'll leave you alone. So most people will never see one of these little guys in their lifetime. But if you do see one, make sure you take a quick look, because as soon as this cat sees you, it's going to be quick. They're going to turn and run from you. Check out the tail, the back of the ears, and you'll know you just saw a bobcat. But one thing I always like to remind people, because we get people sometimes that camp at the campground here, and they'll say, "Oh my gosh, we saw a bear. We ran as quick as we could to get a good picture of it." Well, why would you chase a wild animal that could turn on you? And you know, if these little guys feel cornered or threatened and they can't escape around you, they will come right through you. So you always want to give every animal a chance to escape from you. Just enjoy seeing them from a distance. All right, I'll tell you where these two came from. Oh, let me tell you about the female first. When she has her babies, early spring, she is very protective. I have to say, one of your best moms in the wild right here, as far as protecting her kids. They say if a bear goes after her babies, no problem, she'll go after the bear. Male bobcats are known for attacking baby bobcats. That's why the females are known for taking out the male if they catch them. So this is something you do not want to mess with here. But then 7 months comes around and mom has raised her kids and now quickly has become one of the worst moms. That's her way of telling the kids, "Go find your own place to live. I want mine back." So she runs the babies out. Once her kids leave home, they know they are never welcome back. Not even for a visit. She's done, stay out. Of course, you kids here know you can always go back and visit your folks. But she would take 2 to 5 miles as her territory. There's a yellow jacket, I can't believe it. He would take about 20 for his. All right, I'll just tell you where Cash came from, and then we'll be done over here. Our little guy came from a breeder farm in South Dakota. Years ago when Dan and Jim were in Colorado, the state called. "We're trying to place 30 bobcats. Would you take one?" They agreed, took this little guy, and when they got him, he was so unhealthy, they took him to their vet the next day. He checked him out and recommended they consider putting him down. 1 year old, this little guy had developed stress fractures in his leg bones due to lack of calcium in his diet. The breeder only fed his cats dry dog food and kept chained to tires. They didn't get much exercise. I would let you get this, but you'd bite my finger. So after their vet suggested that, they felt so bad for the little guy, they figured, let's just give him a chance. Took him home, immediately put him on a diet of rodents and fish. You know, you have to provide these animals with the diet they would normally eat in the wild if you want them to stay nice and healthy. They were just getting little chunks of venison. Our guys also eat deer meat for dinner. Everybody had deer liver last night. But they need bones for calcium and minerals. They can't crush up deer bones like the wolves, so I also give them raw chicken bones and all. Fish during fishing season. He loves bluefish. Twice a week, everyone over here gets a roadkill squirrel or chipmunk for dinner. Yeah. They're very fresh when they're picked up. Trust me, I don't pick up just anything. So like the deer, they're fresh, they're in good shape. Ideally, when you pick them up, you still want them flexible. But you throw them in the freezer, which would kill any parasites or diseases. Thaw them out and bring them up. Now, Jim couldn't care less if anybody sees him pick up roadkill. Doesn't bother him at all. I am so embarrassed when I get caught because people will give you the strangest looks. I don't think I'll ever get used to being caught by people picking up roadkill. I'm kind of used to picking up roadkill, but it's the other part. And even my poor daughter growing up was so embarrassed to be seen with me when I'd stop for roadkill. You know, growing up, she had to be with me sometimes when I'd go out. And she was so embarrassed when one day she says to me, Mom, have you ever seen the look people give you when you pick up roadkill? I said, I try not to have eye contact. I just keep my head down. She says, they think you're picking our dinner up. And when I agreed, that was it. From then on, every time we'd see roadkill, she'd hide on the seat and cover her face. She was so embarrassed. But give you an example of why we want to feed a natural diet. We want our animals to have every opportunity to live a long, healthy life. However, quantity is no good without quality, so you want them to be happy, healthy, and active. Normally, these little cats in captivity have been known to live 14, 16 years. If you really take care of them, I've heard of cases where they live into their 20s. In the wild, 6 years where they're protected or where they're not protected. Bobcats are hunted in every state but New Jersey, Ohio, and upstate New York. Yay for New Jersey for finally protecting these little guys. Our hunters almost wiped them out years ago until our state put a stop to hunting them. They're making a good comeback now. So anyway, these little guys need every opportunity to live a long life, so you feed them a natural diet. Little Cash, who was a year old and the vet thought he should be put down, is actually this spring going to be 21 years old. And little Santa and Bobby, that's why they're not real active, Santa and Bobby are both going to be 20. So you can see why we want to stick with our natural diet here. Right, buddy? And he's doing really well. I know every time somebody comes up, anybody follows us on Facebook, you probably heard that Cash has had a couple of seizures that we've actually caught. He is on medication for that, and we've weaned him down to the lowest dose possible. He's doing really, really well. So I keep my fingers crossed every day, but the vet's not sure. We had a whole panel of work done on him, blood work, x-rays, everything we could think of to see if we could find out what was causing his seizures. Everything came back negative. We were happy about that, but there's still some reason he's having them. So we actually have an appointment set up in 2 weeks to take him to Red Bank to see a neurologist. Well, he's going to love traveling down to Red Bank in the kennel cab. But you know what? Like I said, you want to give him every opportunity. And personally, I don't want to throw medicine at one of the animals unless I know why we're throwing medicine at him. You want to know the cause. And then, at least we'll know whether he's in pain and we should do more for him or what the problem is. But it's going to be a trip, I tell you. This little one's going to be so mad at me. When we took him into the vet to get him checked out here, she had such an attitude to me for putting him in a kennel cab and taking him away from her that for 3 weeks I had to watch how close I got to her. Not 3 weeks, 3 days. These little guys can hold a grudge. So every time I'd walk near her, she'd cut those eyes to me and snarl and growl. So I don't know what she's going to do when he's gone for the whole day, but she'll have to deal with it. But the 2 times he had a seizure, I have to tell you, this little cat was amazing. Now remember, sometimes the females will take out a male. She stood over him, licking his head, chirping at him, like, what's the matter? What's wrong? And when I would run over to check on him, she'd snarl and growl at me like, back off, I've got this. So she's very protective over him. It was really sweet watching her, but of course, my heart was in my throat watching him. But so far, so good. Right? All right, well, we really want to thank you guys again for coming today. This is how we support and care for all our animals, so we really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to visit them. Thank you and enjoy your weekend. It's okay.